Welcome everybody, Mike Spagna here. Welcome back from the summer. We still have a few days left, but as we get ready to start the academic year, and I started very excited, and we're really pleased to have you at our annual fall meeting. I want to start by thanking Kara and Fidel. They've just been doing an amazing job all since the pandemic started back in the spring of helping us navigate this space and be able to do really functional and successful webinars and town halls. I was joking the other day with our academic leadership team that my son is starting high school in LA Unified, and the other day they were doing a town hall at that local high school, and somehow the students got a hold of being able to change slides and write things on them. It didn't go to the bad place I thought it was eventually going to go to, but it wound up being okay. And with Kara and Fidel, we're in such great hands. So I want to thank them both at the outset. Today is an opportunity. There are really three goals of our fall meeting today. The most important goal of our fall meeting is for you to meet the people that are critical to our leadership team. These are deans of colleges. These are some of our associate vice presidents. They are other members of our leadership team that all summer long tirelessly have been working in three meetings a week, trying to make sure that we're prepared as best we can with the shifting sands that we encounter with the pandemic. And so we are going to, one of the main purposes today is you're going to hear from each of them. It's putting a face with the name. I've also asked each of them to be brief. We're not going to violate the notion of reading from slides, but I wanted to know at the outset that both the slide deck as well as the overall webinar are all being recorded. So you'll be able to find the slide deck at our academic affairs site, and also we're recording the whole webinar today, the fall meeting, particularly because a lot of our colleagues can't join us because, as many of you know, today is the start also of LA Unified. So with the pandemic, a lot of our colleagues are parents themselves. They're having to deal with childcare issue, picking up books at schools, all the rest. So we want to make sure that both we have this opportunity to do synchronous work as well as to make it asynchronous for people to check in anytime they wanted to with questions. A couple other things before I turn it over to Kara for some housekeeping, as she does so wonderfully on these Zoom video conferences. One is that she'll tell you a little bit about this, we'll be saving Q&A towards the end of this fall meeting because we want to go through some of the highlights of the past retrospective year and what are some of our goals coming up for this academic year. So that's really the purpose of today. We also, as we have each of the individual panelists come up, as I will introduce them, we will be putting their email addresses in the chat box. So questions that you have that I will direct you to individual areas as we go along, that would be helpful as well. So without further ado, and I want to keep us on track in terms of our overall fall meeting, I'm going to turn it over to Kara for some additional housekeeping items.
Thank you, Dr. Spagna. So as you mentioned, in an effort to streamline this meeting, we're going to be turning off chat and the QA feature, even though you're seeing that. While the presenters are speaking, we're going to keep that muted, if you will. And then time permitting at the very end, we're going to open up the Q&A to just a global, general, applicable questions, if you will. And I need to let you know that the webinar is being recorded and the recording will be posted to the Academic Affairs website, which I will post in the chat in a few moments. And again, one final housekeeping note in that this webinar is being offered with live captioning. The link to that service is in the chat and I'm going to repost that as well. And that's it, Dr. Spagna.
Okay, thank you, Kara. The President Parham will be joining us. He is, going back and forth in Zoom land, so he tentatively is scheduled to be with us at 10:45. But based on where we are in the agenda, I'll go ahead and interrupt so we can make sure we hear from him as well as we go through our 90 minutes together. So if we could start, Fidel's been gracious enough that you'll be hearing me say at various times, next slide, next slide, next slide. And that's just cueing him to be able to go on and make sure that we move through our agenda. So next slide, Fidel. So here is a little bit of our agenda just to provide an overview. Again, as I said earlier, we're going to have the president join us tentatively around 10:45. That 11 o'clock to 11:55 there, the real bulk of our time together today is really a recognition of our new staff and our faculty award winners. We didn't get to do this in a right manner at the end of the spring. We sent out an email. We did as much as we could to identify people that have been our award recipients among the faculty, but I wanted to give a little time to have recognition for them. Then the real bulk of our conversation today in the fall meeting is really the accomplishments and goals of academic affairs, both retrospectively in the last year, as well as some of the highlights and goals for this upcoming year. Again, this is putting faces with names. You'll get to see the leaders of respective colleges and areas. And I've asked each of them to really use the slides more as props to just highlight an area or two that they're really proud of, both in accomplishments last year, as well as some goals that they want you to be aware of for this upcoming year. And as I mentioned earlier, when each of the speakers comes up, you will see their email in the chat box. So individual questions you might have on anything you're thinking about, it can go be directed to them as we go along. And then I will have some closing remarks at the end, and we are trying to stay on time to finish at noon. Next slide, please. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to recognize all of the new staff that are joining us. One important component to any university is that the staff and the faculty are the lifeblood of this institution. I said a little earlier on a general faculty call that buildings are important. We're having our first instructional buildings in 25 years. We're redoing the North Lawn. We're making this campus really a welcoming environment, a beautiful environment when we get a vaccine and we can safely come back here. But it's the staff and the faculty really that we want to recognize. And so within your individual areas, we have people that are joining us, and at all college meetings and at various other venues, we'll be recognizing them. But I wanted to say for all the staff in academic affairs, thank you for all you do. I mentioned the other day in a memo I sent out that we are in the work of nation building, especially in an election year, and the staff are key members of that. So I want to thank the staff who are joining us and the existing staff for all you do to support our academic mission and what we do as a campus. Next slide. So, and then I also wanted to recognize some of the faculty award winners from last year that we had sent out an email and some notifications, but you didn't get to see them. So if we go to the next slide, I want to go through the award recipients. First, we have Jenny Hall, who was received the Excellence in Service Award. And as you see there, she's a full-time lecturer in interdisciplinary studies. And so we want to thank Jenny for her work. She also appears in various videos, and you'll see some campus highlights when you return to campus. So Jenny, congratulations. Vivian Price. Vivian Price was recognized last year for Excellence in Research, Scholarship, and Creative Activity. Vivian has been an excellent colleague in labor studies and somebody who's been vital to the community building at this campus. So our congratulations to Vivian. Ryan Bowles-Eagle is an assistant professor in communications department. She was selected as the recipient of the Lyle Gibson Distinguished Teaching Award, one of the best accomplishments for our university to be an accomplished teacher. And Ryan Bowles-Eagle has been very innovative in the stuff she's been doing on campus, particularly with communications. And so she actually has been one of the architects and one of the people working forward with Hollywood by the Horn. So congratulations to Dr. Ryan Bowles-Eagle. Dr. Ann Garrett received the Catherine Jacobs Outstanding Faculty Lecturer Award. This is given to a part-time lecturer, and she's a part-time lecturer in interdisciplinary studies. Our congratulations to Ann for all the work she does. Now, on to the real big part of our fall meeting, which is accomplishments and goals. So I'm about to turn it over to Dr. Cheryl Coos, who is our AVP in Faculty Affairs and Development. For each person that I introduce, I'm going to say just a word here. So Cheryl has been very impressive over the summer of helping us on everything from RTP standards to how we do evaluation of lectures, to really navigating, most importantly, the professional development activities we've had over the summer. And so she's been a real important catalyst in that. She's been very collaborative with our California Faculty Association. So without further ado, let me turn it over to Dr. Cheryl Coos.
We had many great accomplishments last year that bring a lot of promise for this year. And we want to highlight a few of them from the Office of Faculty Affairs and Development, along with the Faculty Development Center. First, this will be our first full year of bringing a institutional membership from the National Center for Faculty Development and Diversity. You can see the website there. All faculty, no matter what your rank or classification, can go to that website and join via our institutional membership. We really would encourage everyone to take advantage of this great opportunity. You've maybe seen the emails that have been coming out fast and furiously from me these last couple weeks regarding the great opportunity that CSUDH has from the Chancellor's Office, along with the Association of College and University Educators and National Association of System Heads. We are able to offer faculty learning community cohorts of 60 faculty for ACU's effective online teaching practices due to a grant that is given to 8 CSU campuses. Those emails have gone out. If you need a reminder, please email me. The application is due Friday, August 10th. CHRS recruiting is now live. What this means for all of those of you who are involved in the recruiting process, from the department to deans to the provost's office, is that we have a paperless process for recruiting now. And we will be continuing with chairs workshops this coming year. Next slide, please. Just also really wanted to highlight what success we had last year with tenure track faculty searches. As you heard Provost Spagna say at our Senate meeting just an hour or two ago, is that we had a banner year for faculty recruitments. Out of 31 searches that interviewed finalists, 31 searches were completed. We had several that were postponed due to COVID and other reasons, but it's a great success for CSUDH. Here you can see the outline of faculty recruitments that are planned. It's a little complicated, especially because of the budget, the budget turmoil that we've seen. But what we are hoping is that we have a minimum of 16 recruitments, and that includes rollovers from the searches that were not completed last year. Want to give a big shout out to the Faculty Affairs and Development staff, Jeannie, Diane, Ruby, Claudia, and Annie. They're doing a great job, and let us know how we can help all of you.
So Cheryl, great job. And I want to tell you, a good person to start out with, because that was a role model, see? So that was succinct and right to the point. Thank you, Cheryl. Also, the important point Cheryl underlined there was that we are going forward with recruitments. Some other CSUs are not doing any recruitments going forward. We will not do that. If someone tells me that we can't do it, then I'll listen to that. But until that day comes, we are pushing forward. It is too hard to do the gains we've been doing in terms of recruiting successfully faculty and building the infrastructure of this campus. So look for that to continue. Next slide. So I now want to introduce Dean Kim Costino and Interim Dean John Price. A couple words before I turn it over to both of them. Kim Costino has been critical, even dating back to the spring semester, of helping us with our modified grading policy. She took that on, championed it, got it done to support students. And I'm working really with colleagues in the registrar's office and in our advising centers. We were able to navigate that. She also has pivoted us, along with colleagues, in a collaborative way that some of you know that Gavin Newsom just signed AB 1460 into law. So we will be working on an ethnic studies requirement. Here's the good news. Kim has us prepped with colleagues. We're ready to go. We were ready to pivot either way, but it's due to Kim's efforts. And then John Price, I want to single out as doing a superb job of really thinking about how we're going to support research going forward during the pandemic. And he's actually put together a plan. He's vetted that through EOC, sharing it going out to the university, and it's how we support our colleagues in creative activity and research going forward during the pandemic. So let me turn it over to Deans Costino and John Price. John, you can lead off. I see you there.
Okay, I thought Kim's slide was first there, but let's
do next. Let's do next slide. And why don't we go forward a slide?
Why don't we go forward?
Go forward a slide, and we'll go to John's, and then we can come back to.
Let's go back one, please. Okay, I want to start, I'm not going to read everything here because the provost has ordered me not to, but I do want to highlight a couple of things. In our Office of Sponsored Research and Programs, this past year, we have gotten 72 awards for a total of $15.7 million in grant-funded research this year. So this is, it's a bump up from what we've been doing in the past, even with COVID going on. The RISCO Award program is ongoing, and we're hoping to continue it this coming year as well. In research development, we're continuing the Grants for My Research program, and we've begun a research development writing group, which is basically an online community, primarily over Zoom, which will be continuing into the fall semester. You've probably gotten an email from that, on that from me already. If you could please go to the next slide. Okay, and then I want to focus down on graduate studies. This year we had 89 master's thesis and project submissions, which our office reviewed. And we had a couple of Thesis of the Year awards, as we always do. Our first place was a graduate student in English, Paula Star Sharon. And in special education, the second place winner was Martha Villa. If Kim is here, I can turn it over to her now. Otherwise, I would go on and just talk about the new programs that we're starting this year in graduate studies.
Yeah, let's forward to the next slide, John.
Okay. I just want to highlight a couple. We've got a Master's of Science in Health Science, Environmental Health Disaster Management, which will be hopefully coming up in the fall. We have a new Master's of Science in Systems Engineering. In the spring semester, we're going to start a Master's of Science. In the spring semester, we're going to be starting a Master's of Science in Radiologic and Imaging Services, or Sciences rather, as well. And so we're very happy about those.
Thank you, John. I don't see Kim yet, so we'll come back to her as we go through the fall meeting once she joins us. I do want to give a shout out. You'll meet him shortly. You'll be able to meet Kim McNutt, Dean Kim McNutt. He's been instrumental in several of these master's programs, and so I have to give him a shout out. He's kept us in the innovative space of developing masters. A few years ago, we had developed the Master's in Systems Engineering, and it was put on the kibosh by the Chancellor's office, and we resurrected that and completed it. So it's very exciting that that's starting. Let's move on to the next slide. So now we have two, in many ways, unsung champions of our campus, Rosa Heckenberg and also Maria Grandonnet, who really work on the Touro Learning and Testing Center and the University Advising Center. They pivoted immediately in the spring to be able to do online tutoring, online advising. They were our first wave, to be honest with all of you, about how we were able to give students support. And so my hat's off to both of them, and they've been undaunted in their commitment to students and how they help us intervene with academic advising, and they've been great liaisons also with our colleagues and partners in student affairs. So let me turn it over to Rosa and Maria. Next slide. Rosa, do you want to start out?
Yes. My name is Rosa Heckenberg, the director for the Touro Learning and Testing Center. There's just 3 items that I want to really highlight of innovation in the Touro Learning and Testing Center. First of all, by March, we launched a new online tutoring service with a company outside by the name NetTutor. That company provides tutoring to all our students in the age 24/7. And it's through Blackboard, so it's very easy, very friendly that the students will be able to take that tutoring. So please, faculty, encourage all your students to participate and to get the access that they need in tutoring because they are available 24/7. Second item also that I want to mention is that we are going to start a study hall this summer for 4 classes in math, which are some of the classes that we have a high rate of DFW. And that will be Monday through Thursday from 7 to 8 p.m. Mainly, we want to do it for the first incoming students who will be doing online study hall, and that hopefully they will develop some relationships among each other with the students. So when we come back to campus, they will know some of the faces. And as well, we will have a tutor on site for the study hall that they will be providing assistance with homework or with any question that the students And last thing is we are a center that is accredited for the CRLA, the College Reading and Learning Association, which our tutors have the opportunity to be certified at the end of the semester if they participate in the program. We also are accredited with the Supplementary Instruction Program by UMKC, University of Missouri, Kansas City. And even though the testing center is not in full production right now, we just got also accredited by the National College and Testing Association. So those are my 3 highlights that I want to make. And also that we are 150% virtual service. We have our front desk with the students providing support for our students through emails and phone calls. So thank you for the opportunity to share these. Please share all this information with your students.
Thank you, Rosa. Let's go on to the next slide. And next slide. Goals right there, Rosa, if you just want to speak to 1 or 2 of those in terms of
Okay.
NetTutor.
Yeah, the NetTutor, like I mentioned, those were the goals that my goal is that to expand the tutoring for fall and spring semester. And the spring semester, when we went working from home, it was just a pilot program that we select certainly classes, but right now we will be offering them for all of them. And like I mentioned, you know, we will be doing certification for our tutors and SI, and as well as, you know, really focusing on the study hall that we implementing for this semester. And if the program goes well, then we will continue once we come back to campus, because I believe that the study hall will really benefit developing the social skills for incoming students.
Thank you, Rosa. And I know that we have Vice President William Franklin, who's also joined us. And I want to thank Vice President William Franklin and our colleague, Chris Manriquez. Between the 3 of us, we are really working forward in terms of student success. I mean, it's always our priority, but going forward in this year, there's an urgency in terms of what we do, particularly with our new students coming in. We cannot afford to not have those students be retained and stay with us. So Rosa will be key in that work in terms of trying to provide academic support to our students as they navigate already a virtual environment, but we want to make sure they're successful. Remember, I said this earlier at the general faculty meeting, access without completion is not opportunity. And our job is to make sure that students finish with us. And the only way they can do that is with the supports of things that Rosa and Maria put in place. Okay, I want to actually see if, I think President Parham is with us. So if we could move him over into the panelist area, and Kara, if we could get him on camera. I want to make sure we're being diligent with his time. So if you could please arrange that, we can move on to the next slide, Fidel. So before we go on to the library and Dean Stephanie, let's see if we can get the president in. I see Kim Costino has joined us, so I will turn back to Kim after the president speaks. I'll go back to Kim and we can go back several slides to be able to include her. So do we have President Parham is with us. So let's turn on his camera and welcome President Parham to the Academic Affairs Fall Meeting.
Mr. Provost, thank you. I have actually been enjoying watching folk for about the last 20 minutes and looking at all the marvelous things we're doing. And I was prepared to listen to Dean Brazeley and all the great things going on over there. But first of all, let me bring you greetings and say good morning. And thank you all for being here. I want to open up, I think, as we often do this time of year, by expressing my sincere thanks and appreciation to the leadership in academic affairs, both deans, associate deans, assistant deans, counselors, administrative staff, support staff. I mean, there are so many people who make this engine work. And wow, looking at some of the slides before, it looks very, very impressive. But I know that a lot of what we do is a thankless job because some folk, you know, always have critique, but know that I want to start out with a note of praise to say thank you and congratulations. We literally could not do what we do without what you do. And I'm very grateful for that. And our mission, right, to be able to educate this population of folk is enhanced by the academic rigor and the strength and the intellectual resources that you bring to the table. And it just makes me proud as your president to be able to bear witness to all of the marvelous work I think that folk do. I know that over the summer in particular, and even finishing up the spring, that this team has worked tirelessly to really advance the university. And I know that between the Zoom calls and in-person meetings and working lots and making adaptations, and between budget things, between racial tensions, between COVID health crises, I mean, there's nothing we haven't done, but folk have just kept going, sidestepped the rocks of resignation and the stones of stagnation, and we just kept on moving like toros do. And I'm just real pleased and thankful for all of you for that. I want to call out a couple members of the cabinet, because a leader is really only as good as the work produced by the people who work with and for them. And I am surrounded by a magnificent team who have worked tirelessly with me. And if you see them running down the street because their tongues are hanging out, it's because we've been running awful fast and they have kept pace and they are looking good. But I want to give a big shout out, first of all, to our provost, Mike Spagna. You have no idea, folk, how blessed we are to have an individual of both his intellect and his caliber, his character in the role that he's at. He is our firm number 2 on this campus, and I appreciate him so much, but I want you to appreciate him as well as the cabinet does, because he does your person's work along with the team. So let me just pause for 5 seconds. I want y'all to get a provost some love and just, like, you know, give me some clap.
Thank you.
I want to introduce you to, I think, the best vice president of student affairs in not only the whole doggone system, right, but UC California, the state. He's getting national prominence now. I told you he was going to be like that, because he's just doing things that are just lights out. And that's Dr. William Franklin. So a lot of you know Dr. Franklin, so I want to give him some love too. So thank you, Dr. Franklin. In the midst of this, as I've said before, crisis reveals character. And crisis exposes weakness in an organization or entity, but crisis also creates opportunity. And one of the weaknesses that got exposed in this particular space was our technological infrastructure. And are we delighted to have our Vice President for Information Technology, Chris Manriquez. So I don't know if he's on this call or not. Maybe he is in, or maybe not, but we'll, in absentia, give him a little shout out, because we could not literally do what he and his team are doing without him. And he is in the process of trying to upgrade the university. I've shared with folk that we are not interested in recovering. And I want you to hear me. We are not going to recover back to a doggone thing. What we are going to do is reset and transform this university to the way it should have always been, not recover to the way that it was. And Chris is really helping us do that in a very significant way. Fourth, one of the newest additions to the team that has just showed us, I think, what we really need. We are grateful for everyone who came before, who made contributions, but this particular individual is kind of doing lights out, and that is our new Vice President for Admin and Finance and our Chief Financial Officer, Deb Wallace. And when you run into a fiscal crisis, you can get an accountant to count money. That's easy. But what you need is somebody who is very smart and intelligent about the strategic use of resources. And that's what we have on our Vice President for Administration and Finance, Deb Wallace. So thank you to her. So give her some shout out and give her some love. There's Dr. Costino. Hey, you. And I want to also give some shout out to our interim Vice President for University Advancement, Mike LaSquadro. And the advancement piece, our prior Vice President retired, as we thanked her for her service, but we needed to do some significant changing and upgrading in that. And Michael has really come in and helped us to really rehome that shop and challenge it to be a little bit more accountable, to raise the stakes about what we expected and accountability, and put systems in place to allow us to do that. So I want to give him a shout out as well. So Mike LaSquadro, by the way, will be leaving us in the next couple of weeks to go back to the chancellor's office where we borrowed him from. But I'm proud to announce that we have a brand new member of the team that will be joining us as of the 24th virtually and in person after Labor Day. And that needs to be introduced by Scott Barrett. So Scott Barrett is our new vice president for university advancement. We'll welcome him here the first part of September, but delighted that he will be taking our advancement operations to a next level. Also want to give a shout out to our council. We have lots of issues that come up on the radar screen with legal issues. And so John Walsh has been a stalwart for us in the cabinet. And also want to make sure I mention my chief of staff, who I could not do without, Deborah Robertson, as well as people in my team, Bernadine Grayer, who you all know in the office, and Tony Little, who do great work in addition to Mary and Rosida. So that's my team. Lastly, let me say, Mr. Provost, actually I lied. I have two things I want to say because I'm feeling so good about this faculty this morning. I want to say congratulations to our faculty award winners. And it was nice to just sit here and preview and have you remind us. So I thank you, Mr. Provost, for reminding all of us about those who have somehow found a way to distinguish themselves in the midst of all we've been through, right? We're doing all that magnificent work. And I simply want to add my voice to the chorus of those that have said thank you and congratulations again to our faculty award winners. Lastly, I want to remind us, y'all, that this is a new day. Let me say that again. Everybody say that with me, even though I know y'all on mute. Everybody say this is a new day in the Turtle Nation. New day. It's a new day because we got new buildings. We got a new science and innovation building that's here. That is the first academic building with any portion of state funds we built on this campus in 25 years. And we're about to open it up and populate it, right? And when it's safe to bring everybody back, we'll do that. We have an I&I building that is about 70% done, right? That is now framing the front part of campus. And I continue to joke with my friend and colleague, Dean Nguyen, that is, and the provost is pointing outside his window because he can see it. I miss it because I could see it out my old window, but I'm at home now, so I can't quite look at it. But it is just a magnificent structure. And I joke with Dean Nguyen that he wrestles with that's his building or my building. I tell him it's my building and he gets to use it. But it's our building. It's our building, exactly right. So we're not going to wrestle each other for that. That is the campus, and it is a space. And you look at then a new residence hall, 506 bed spaces that we are opening up with artwork that is just breathtaking to look at. And so we have now an infrastructure that is improving, right, the capacity, right, for us to provide instruction and research to our students and faculty offices and conference spaces and academic spaces. But also it is just changing the aesthetic ambiance of the whole campus. So when you come up from the south, you see the science building. From the north, we'll have a new entry with the innovation instruction building. On the east side, you'll see the new residence hall that is just something to behold with the grand staircase that's now going to be, right, kind of a monument. The north lawn that we are redoing with a lot of cultural elements. They're going to make sure that all of our students can see themselves reflected in the fabric of the institution. It's a new day. We have new buildings, folks, right? In the midst of all this, we didn't stop building because COVID got here. Crisis provides an opportunity, and the opportunity was for us to keep on moving. We kept on moving, so we've done that. We also have new academic programs, as we just saw profiled here with our folk. Isn't it magnificent that in the midst of that, how many times does a university get to roll out new academic programs versus teach, right, what is traditionally taught, right? I think that's pretty significant, and particularly for women's studies coming through when we got 70% women on this campus and an Asian Pacific Studies program. How wonderful is that? Master's programs in systems engineering. I mean, everything we touch now is kind of moving in that space. So we got new academic programs. We got new students. Did I mention that we have new students? Our enrollments are strong. Did I mention that we have more people coming back? Now hear me on this one. Normally what we yield every year with continuing students is maybe about high 70s of the people who come back. This year, we're up in the 90% range for those folk who are coming back. So they are blowing off. I mean, we are literally 1,000 more than we expected. So even with the little we've lost on new entering transfers or freshmen who, because of COVID or other things, are not coming, we are actually more than compensating for it with the numbers of students that we are continuing. So we are likely to be over-enrolled again by somewhere between about 14 and 16% once the numbers settle in. But hear me well, folk, that is a problem of success, not a problem of failure. Imagine if we were in this environment where we've already had to deal with the budget reductions, and if we had to deal with reductions coming from the fact that our enrollments are down this way, so we're now losing money on that one. We do not have to worry about that this year. So that's a good thing. We got new students. And also we are welcoming new gifts. And we're about to announce, where is my friend Dean Avila? There he is. Hey, Mitch. We're about to announce a new gift that came there most recently that we've been able to consolidate and put into that. I mean, there are people who are saying we want to invest in the Dominguez Hills campus. So when I say it's a new day, when we have new buildings, new academic programs, new students, new gifts, I mean, there's lots of things we're happening. We are still transforming lives that continue to transform America. And I couldn't be more proud as your president leader. So I simply want to say thank you again for what you do. Thanking you again for making a difference. And I want you to know when you come to work every day, right, that what you do is significant, is worthwhile, and it makes a difference. Thank you all.
Thank you, President Parham. And for the new faculty and new staff that are joining us in our virtual space for this new exciting academic year, I just want to tell you, having worked closely with this president, there's an old Mencken line that I love using from time to time, which is the measure of a person is what they, she, he does when no one's looking. And I guarantee you this president is working on our behalf when no one's looking to try and elevate this campus. So my heart goes out to him, and thank you for your leadership, President Parham, as we go into this new and exciting new era for Dominguez Hills. Thank you for joining us. Now, I see that Dean Castino has joined us. So Fidel, if we could go back several slides to where the intro slide was for her. There we go. And so I'm going to turn it over to Dean Castino. I hope that you were in the waiting room or in the attendee group, Dean Castino, so you could hear the nice things I said about you. But if you didn't, we're recording this. So pour a glass of wine and listen to that later tonight. So let me turn it over to you.
I will re-listen to it, I promise. And sorry about that, folks, but you know, nothing like a grand entrance, eh?
Yeah.
So, hi everybody.
Hi there.
I will walk you through these very quickly. So, all of the things you see on this slide were accomplished in collaboration with amazing groups and pairs and big groups of faculty. So, I will say, first and foremost, this year we fully implemented CSUDH's Writing Center, and that could not have happened without Marilee Grayson, Chris Potts, Siskana Nadaha, and so many other folks in the English department and on UWC. They are up, they are running, they are offering incredible workshops for faculty, work with students, resources, ways of thinking about writing that are anti-racist and foster agency and self-efficacy. So send your students there, go there yourself, it's awesome. We also, as I did hear you say, Provost Spagna, we are ready to meet AB 1460 in ways that reflect our values. We spent a lot of time with a big group of people, big group of faculty on the GE assessment working group, thinking about how we could give our students an education that isn't one course thinking about race, one course thinking about diversity and social justice. So we have integrated this, or we're proposing to integrate this in GE and have a specific ethnic studies requirement that will reflect the ethnic studies disciplinary lens. So more about that this year in conversations with the Senate. We also, as I think many of you know, have fully piloted new curriculum forms and a refined and more transparent curriculum review process that will be ready to go fully online next fall. So we'll have a new catalog, we'll work on that first, and then we will move online. We have clearer forms, I think. We have a faster and quicker and more efficient process, as evidenced by the fact that all curriculum proposals that came to UCC were reviewed and addressed by that last meeting, in a meeting that was a normal time and not 9 hours. So, and we have to thank for that the college curriculum committees, Sheila Pawar and Carolyn Caffrey Gardner as the UCC chairs, all of the faculty who were involved. I mean, it was a big effort, and I think we are ready to move. And finally, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I think you all know that Tracy and Lily are really the people who work all the magic. Tracy Haney, Lily Sanchez, they work all the magic, they do all the things, and that's why we have the great new programs that the faculty are putting together. So that's, next slide, please. And that was just, so I'm good.
Yeah, you are. Thank you. Thank you, Dean Costino. And those two things that she highlighted, Fidel, if we could move forward to Dean Brassley's slide for the library. Two things that Dean Costino shared with you all that are critical. One is this significant accomplishment of streamlining the curriculum process, putting it online. This is something that's been years in the making. So that's a big accomplishment that Lily and Tracy and Kim have worked on. And then I cannot say enough about how Kim and colleagues have prepped us to be ahead of the curve in terms of AB 1460. Other campuses are now reacting to this news and kind of thinking, oh, I guess we got to do something. We had prepped way in advance to be able to pivot either way. So again, Dean Costino, thank you for putting our university in a great position for that. So
Mr. Provost, let me see if I can just interrupt 1 second, because I wanna dovetail on that accolade for Dean Costino. In that not only has she been in that space, because when I challenged us last year as an institution that 1 3-unit course did not culturally competent students make, I said we want to be able to set the curve on what that looks like in terms of what cultural competency and proficiency is. And the proficiency I think that we're able to do is now going to be revealed, I think, in some of that work. So I want to thank Dr. Costino and also thank her as well as Matt Smith, because she will be co-chairing our strategic planning process going forward this year that a number of you will be a part of as well. And I just want to thank her both for her service, but just her intellectual capability and her just diehard commitment to this campus. And I appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
So no one has had a better build-up or more anticipation than Dean Stephanie. So we're finally going to bring her in. And I want to start out by thanking Stephanie for her leadership. I mean, the pivoting that was necessary to have to close the library, how we take the intellectual nexus of our campus, whether it's virtual or physical. The library is so critical to what we do, and her leadership has been stellar. So let me turn it over to Stephanie. And we can do the next slide. And Stephanie, I see you have to unmute, Stephanie.
I wanted to make sure you guys could read my lips. So let me start again. Good morning, and I'd like to add my welcome to you all to the fall semester. The University Library worked diligently to help you and our students to succeed. And so I'd like to highlight a few ways in which we have done this. The library continues to partner and faculty with other partner and collaborate with other faculty on campus to meet information literacy goals. And this year, our library faculty launched a 3-credit course, Library 151, Fundamentals of Information Literacy, which fulfills GE Area A. So we're very proud of that. In addition, we made great strides in our online learning by creating 16 new videos and other course-specific tutorials that you can incorporate into your courses and which students can use. Also, our Girth Archives and Special Collections distinguished itself with over $500,000 in gifts and grants, and then a transformative partnership with the Mamie Clayton Library and Museum to bring that major collection of African-American history and cultural artifacts to our campus. Despite the pandemic, I must do a shout out to our library faculty. I have been in awe of the way in which they pivoted quickly and effectively to an online remote modality for information literacy instruction, which is an institutional learning outcome, along with online research, consultations, and assistance that we were already providing. Next slide, please. Not content to rest on our laurels, we have several goals for this upcoming year. Notably, we would like to enhance the library's culture and improve our services by looking at our policies and practices through a cultural, inclusive, and equity lens to address individual and systemic racism that may be present, and to enhance social justice, which is a strong mission on our campus. And also in support of the ethnic studies requirement, we want to augment our collections to the extent possible to support teaching and learning around those intersections. Finally, we would like to enhance our instructional program related to primary source materials to support our students in their courses and also as student scholars. We look forward to working with you this year in support of our students' success. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. One last person that I want to get to before we progress. I think we have all of our panelists, they're now assembled. We were able to move them in and out. And so I want to go back, if we could, Fidel, back to Maria Grandonnet, and this would be under the GI 2025 progress slide. And I'm going to turn it over to Maria. And Maria, hopefully you heard me say this, but I'll say it again. And like I said to Dean Castino, watch the video later tonight, but I really want to express my thanks for everything you do, for advising, for supporting the group that are vital, along with our colleagues in student affairs, to make sure that students progress. So let me turn it over to Maria. And Maria, if you want to talk just for a minute about some of the accomplishments and some of the goals coming up.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. I thought that you all forgot about me today. So
No. I've been typing behind the scenes saying, let's get her in.
No problem. So I just wanted to have the opportunity to highlight, some of our progress for GI 2025. As you can imagine, our great team on campus, particularly advisors, have really worked towards ensuring, that we are working with students and our supporters, and collaborators with faculty and staff to make sure that we are, moving, graduation at the forefront of, the work. A lot of the processes, procedures, and policies have been evolving because of the work of our graduation innovation team. So thanks to that amazing team that is really working on a weekly basis, to look at the numbers. Our first year retention in graduation was the highest in the last 10 years. So we're really excited about that. And then the 4-year graduation rate increased almost 50%. From that full-time 2013 cohort to that 2015 cohort. And our transfer students have steadily grown for the 2-year graduation rate, which is very exciting. A lot of transfer students are really noticing, that this is obviously something that we do well on our campus, and they're really attracted to what we're able to offer. That being said, I also wanted just to share that, we have moved very quickly into remote advising through Zoom, phone, video chat. We have also moved all of our workshops into a more interactive virtual, opportunities. We also implemented the Toro Success Collaborative as one of, opportunities for students to start creating their own appointments with advisors as we're doing this virtually. Our goals for next year are going to be in the expansion of our needs assessment for advising.
Fidel. Sorry, Maria. Next slide, Fidel.
No problem. And being able just to really kind of look at the infrastructure and integrating academic advising. And just so you're aware, we collaborate and support in really start, kind of like building our capacity for that holistic and proactive advising. And that's to ensure that a lot of the information that the students are receiving is accurate, is clear, in terms of the resources and services that we offer. And we're assisting, as well with the expansion of the Toro Collaborative Success. In the past, you probably know this about EAB. And this is to expand those, appointments, this fall 2020. Early alerts is another area that we are just going to be expanding, to support students who are most likely at risk. So please, check out, our website. If you have any questions as you're supporting students, we are here to support you. Our amazing advising team has really kind of like pivoted rather quickly, to do this remotely. So let us know if there's anything that we can do for you as we move forward.
Maria, thank you so much. And you see on that third bullet there that the early alerts, and Vice President Franklin, Vice President Enriquez, and I, the early alerts are going to be critical for us, along with the work that Dean Castino and Maria and others do with DFW courses. The idea here is we have to provide early intervention at the breakdown points for our students. We have to buoy them. We have to adopt the mentality that once a student commits to being a Toro, we have to make sure that they are a Toro for life. It is not excusable for us to say that they can't continue. We have to do everything, beyond everything we can do, to try and make sure they complete with us and they're successful. And this will require a heavy lift, but we're up for it. I mean, if we talk about the advancement of this institution, we have to be known as the institution that provides access, we complete their degrees, and we make sure they thrive on the other side. So thank you, Maria. And Fidel, if I could move forward, we're going to move forward to Dean Nguyen in the College of Business Administration and Public Policy. The President and I have already sufficiently stolen his thunder with the AACSB accreditation, but I'm going to turn it over to Dean Nguyen, and you can start off with that or anywhere you would like.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of CBAT, welcome back. I'm really excited about the extremely high retention rate this year. I thought that's is great accomplishment. So congratulations, everyone. I'm very pleased to tell you that CBAT now is AACSB accredited. I want to thank all the students, faculty, and staff for their hard work in the past 5 years. And also I would like to mention that really I want to thank Provost Spagna also. He's so knowledgeable in accreditation. Probably I can say is the most knowledgeable provost I served in the 30 plus my career years in higher education. And also I thought without President power and support, we will not be able to reach this milestone this year. So thank you, everyone. Next slide, please. Next year, we're going to focus on 3 areas. Number 1, quality program. Number 2, student success. Number 3, faculty success. Just give you a few examples about the major projects we're going to do this year. The first project is Master of Science in Accountancy. So we're going to complete this new master degree and go through the UCC review. Therefore, we can launch this new degree, specialized degree program. And also, we're very excited about the new school proposal. Is the proposal for School of Public Service and Justice. So this is some of our response to the call for social justice, particularly in the criminal justice area. So this new curriculum, we would like to address the systemic racism in our CJA system nowadays, and hopefully also provide some solution to the public health area also. So that will be our project, and I thank you for your support. And also we are focused on student and faculty for their success also. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Nguyen. And before we move on, Fidel, in that slide, you see all of the CBAP faculty. And I want to say that this accreditation could never have happened if not for in a town hall that we have with all the faculty. I remember vividly the president and the dean saying, "Are you up for this?" And they said yes, and they fulfilled the mission. So my hat's off to them. The faculty made this happen, and it's been several decades in the making. Wouldn't have happened without this group you're seeing on this slide raising their hands and saying, "Count us in." So again, the institution only becomes vital if faculty are driving the curriculum and driving this excellence. So congratulations. Next slide, if we could. I want to turn now to Dean Phil LaPolt. And Phil LaPolt has been exceptional over the summer in actually having to defer a beautiful ribbon cutting that we had set up for the spring for the new Science and Innovation Building. But I want to guarantee you, he's been working with the chairs and faculty to make sure that all the pipettes, the Erlenmeyer flasks, and I think even some centrifuges have been moved into the new Science and Innovation Building. And so without further ado, let me turn it over to Dean LaPolt.
Thank you, Provost Spagna. Next slide, please. And I'll talk about that a little bit. But first, last fall, we welcomed 8 new assistant professors, and they're all shown in the top right photos. When they started a year ago, they had no idea what was in store for them, nor did any of us. But they and the other faculty have really done heroic work finding effective new ways to teach remotely, which was perhaps especially challenging for some of our science lab courses. Over the year, our faculty have continued to do what they do. They present and publish their research. They receive new grant funding. They've been recognized nationally and internationally, again, demonstrating themselves to just be outstanding teacher scholars. And they also successfully recruited these 9 new assistant professors shown in the lower photos who we're really happy to be today. I should also mention, and I'm happy to specifically recognize 2 staff members who received outstanding staff awards last year, Justin Hathaway and Gabby Gomez-Dominguez, who contribute so much to our efforts. As mentioned, last spring, we did see the completed construction of the new Science and Innovation Building. What you may not know is that it's really the faculty and staff who've been working tirelessly over the past few months to move in and make sure it's ready even during the pandemic. So we're really excited that because of their efforts, the very first lab classes will in fact be offered in that building this fall. And as we continue growing as the largest college on campus, our faculty have developed and implemented new academic programs for our students that address regional and national workforce needs with extended ed, and that build on our curriculum to address issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, such as the minor in Indigenous peoples of the Americas. Notably, the cybersecurity program, it's not a new program, but it celebrated its first graduating class of students, so congratulations to them. Next slide, please. So this year, we'll be continuing to work to find new ways to sustain and better support our faculty and staff, to improve our infrastructure, including plans to renovate the Natural Sciences and Mathematics building. We'll seek to increase our funding base through external grants and philanthropic donations, and we'll continue to work to support student success in the many ways that that can be defined, all while being intentional about recognizing and addressing systemic biases, inequities, and disparities. Through all of this, we'll be working as a community to come together and to find new ways of thinking, doing, and being to really reach our full potential. So I thank you all for what you do, and have a great year.
Thank you, Dean LaPolt. If we could move on to the next slide. We have our newest addition, Interim Dean Lisa Hutton. I want to start out by thanking Dean John Davis, who during last year and into the pandemic stewarded the College of Education, and then over the summer, we appointed Lisa Hutton as the interim dean, and Lisa has been doing a phenomenal job. I'm amazed that she's upright. She has been both marshaling what's necessary for our clinical sites during the pandemic, which is a really heavy lift. She also is instrumental in getting the college together with all of our colleagues, faculty, and staff to be able to go through accreditation this fall, and it's on track. So my hat's off to her. I know intimately what's involved in CTC accreditation. It is a heavy lift as well. So let's please welcome Lisa Hutton for the College of Education. Lisa, I turn it to you.
Great, next slide. I crammed a whole lot of things onto the slide, so I'm not going to read it, but I do want to point out a few points of distinction. First, I want to talk about that we've had a group of faculty who have led the staff and faculty to create a new mission and vision over the last 2 years. And this new mission and vision reimagines what equitable and just educator prep looks like in our college. And this work around social justice and racial equity will continue this year in a series of college meetings. Another point I'd like to make is about our bilingual and dual language programs. A number of faculty have worked for many years to build this pipeline. And I'm excited to report that there are over 70 students doing their clinical practice this semester in bilingual settings, both in their first and second clinical practice sites. So I'm very excited about that. Next slide. The faculty in our college have organized conferences, published articles and books. They've endowed new scholarships, and they've received a number of state and federal grants. However, I'm most proud of the work that they've done in preparing teachers, counselors, and school leaders. They're passionate, they're committed. This includes our staff and faculty who support these folks, who will return to their community to educate the next generation of students. And so it was really rewarding to hear in the last couple of weeks that 2 alums have been honored. One, Rhiannon Chavez, was named the LAUSD Teacher of the Year in 2020, and Sarah Siemens was named the California School Counselor of the Year, both alums. Next slide. Some of the goals we have in the college this year is to conduct a nationwide search for a permanent College of Ed dean, to complete our preparations for our accreditation visit in October, which Provost Spagna already mentioned. It's been a lot of work, and I'd like to thank all the faculty and staff who have contributed their time and energy. Also to respond to the challenge of preparing teachers, counselors, and school leaders during the pandemic, particularly clinical placements in a virtual setting. We're all grappling with how to do that. And you know, we're continuing to welcome new faculty. We look forward to hiring new tenure track faculty, as well as to look for funding for our college initiatives and priorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. So now we move on to the College of Arts and Humanities, and you had already heard the president congratulate Dean Avila for a large gift. I'll let him speak to that for a second as well, but I want to thank Mitch for his leadership, along with all the deans and associate deans. In many ways, the work that they've had coming together really has helped us. Many of the exceptions that we asked for during the pandemic were exceptions that came on our clinical sites, both within College of Education as well as in HHSN. But a lot of the classes that were really in theater and art, out of Arts and Humanities, really I want to thank Dean Avila for working with the chairs to try and make sure that we could try and populate those and think about those as exceptions. Always at the front was student success. And how do we make sure that in a pandemic, in a virtual environment, how do we make sure that students aren't taken off their pathway to graduate? And so I turn it now to Dean Mitchell Avila.
Thank you, Provost Spagna. So next slide there. Great things are happening in the College of Arts and Humanities, and it's no secret why. We really have fabulous faculty. And I really want to thank the Provost for earlier today, this morning, acknowledging the award winners from our college. And we were thrilled, of course, that so many of our faculty, that we swept those awards this last year. We'll be, we'll try to share those with other colleges this year.
He's thrown down the gauntlet, but the competition's going to be stiff going forward.
So we feel real good. Those are really fabulous, fabulous faculty. And they're joined by 81 tenure track faculty in our college this year. It's our largest number in the history of the college. It corresponds with the largest enrollment that we've ever had. Once again, in this fall semester, we're setting enrollment records. And we're seeing that our programs are really in demand. So last year, we witnessed a large increase in our total number of majors. We have over 2,100 majors. And our percentage of the undergraduate population at DH that's a major in the Arts and Humanities is increasing each year. And of course, we have 2 new BA programs, Women's Studies and Asian Pacific Studies, and we're very excited about that, just as we're excited about gearing up to meet the demand for ethnic studies classes that we anticipate in the coming years. So one of the evidences of our success has been external validation. And we've been getting a lot of that recently in terms of support from private gifts and foundations. So especially pleased, and we'll make this announcement formally in the next week or so, but we've received a large gift research center in the college, and we're very excited about that. We've also, I mean, one of the major accomplishments that happened this past year is an important gift from the Getty Foundation. And again, this is information just embargoed for another couple of weeks, but we'll be sharing that information with the campus as well, and we're very excited about that. So we're receiving new funding and new validation from our partners in the community. Next slide. So in line with our mission as a college, new priorities have emerged, and these are really new urgent priorities. So like many of our programs here at Dominguez Hills, we'll be engaged in a year-long conversation about anti-racist pedagogy. We're particularly interested in connecting why what we do as a campus with how we do it, right? And what it means to be an effective teacher in the classroom. Part of that support is to create some teaching and learning fellows in the college. And I'm very pleased to have as our inaugural teaching and learning fellows, Anne-Marie Perez, Kirsten Ellsworth, and Jen Brandt. They're joining Ann Choi, who's working with Kim Costino to create some faculty learning communities. And so we're really excited about that sort of spreading the good virus of pedagogy and effective teaching for our students. Something else to watch for this coming semester, we're hoping to roll out some Arts and Humanities College Hours events, invite the campus community to participate in concerts, lectures, and other kinds of culture, campus culture. We all can't come to campus, but it's easy for us to meet together online, and we'll be organizing some events for all our folks across campus. So exciting things continue to happen in the College of Arts and Humanities, and I'm looking forward to a really great semester.
Thank you, Dean Avila. We now move to the College of Extended and International Education, and about Dean Kim McNutt, I will say this publicly to all of you. We had a state senator on the campus last year. The person wound up saying, as goes Dominguez Hills, goes the CSU system. I will even extend that and say, as goes this College of Extended and International Education, goes Dominguez Hills. Dean McNutt has to keep us as a catalytic cutting edge. He's big picture. He's thinking about what the market is out there. He's also open to any kind of experimentation. We need that kind of agility to be successful and bring our community back at the other side of this pandemic. So without further ado, let me turn it over to Dean McNutt.
Thank you, Provost Spagna. And again, it's a collaborative effort with all the deans, everyone on the call, and yourself and your support of our college. If we could go to the next slide, please. I said all along after the spring pandemic hit that the canary in the coal mine was going to be summer enrollments. Would students come back? And I'm happy to report, as you can see in the bolded numbers, we actually exceeded spring intersession and summer over last year, and that was even with the pandemic. And I think the key takeaway here is that students did put a premium on their education. I think a lot of us were concerned that, oh man, when the pandemic hit, people were losing their jobs, they weren't going to be able to afford school. But it showed me that they still placed a premium on completing their education at Dominguez Hills. And we heard from some others, including the president and the provost, our fall enrollments are very robust, which I think is a continuation of that pattern. And so I want to thank all the faculty. In the summer self-support, we can't offer courses unless we have courses. So I want to thank all of you that did offer courses to our students this summer and spring. And I hope that you'll do likewise for the fall, because taking courses through special sessions helps our students graduate faster. So that's a real important element there. On the second bullet, I don't want to belabor the point. We've all talked about the systems engineering collaborative degree, but the wonderful thing about this is it's our first ever engineering degree, and it's at the master's level, and we don't even have an engineering program. So think about how remarkable that is. We don't have an engineering college, and yet with the faculty working with Dean LaPolt's college and others on campus and the support of folks from graduate studies all the way to the chancellor's office, we made it happen. And I'm happy to report we have at least 30 students already enrolled in the inaugural program this fall. And we had a very robust application pool, so we're hoping that those that applied will maybe even come into the spring. Next slide, please. And again, to meet the challenges of what the president said earlier, you're right, crisis creates opportunity. We were contacted by Chris Cagle from South Bay WIB and said, hey, as the South Bay pivots to online modality, we have a lot of small businesses that don't know how to manage a remote workforce. Can you help us? So we tabbed some of our industry practitioners in human resource management. We put together a mini course on remote workforce management. We also put one together on emergency planning, and they've both been met very successfully, and we can continue to offer those on an as-needed basis. So again, we're continuing to meet the workforce development, retraining, and upskilling needs of not only traditional students, but folks in the community too. And also with the theme of keeping the foot on the gas with new hires, we actually backfilled 2 staff members in international education. Dr. Hamoud Salih has been leading that effort and that group. We have a wonderful staff, but they were a little shorthanded. The provost blessed it and said, okay, we need to backfill these positions. And then we did. So we're trying to keep the gas on enrollment for international education as well. And you can also see we've established a new couple of scholarships for study abroad. So continuing to move forward. Next slide, please. Some goals. I mentioned this last year. It's been a long process, but we're still getting closer to this integration of a CRM. And the goal there will be as an Amazon-style shopping cart for students that want to enroll in our non-credit training programs. We offer 50 different programs, and it's quite a menu. So we want to be able to make it easier for students to come to our website, pick a course, pull out the credit card, enroll, receive confirmation without ever having to call the office or step foot. So it's going to make it more efficient. It's going to improve the process. And I really think it's going to open up a market for us as we move away to a face-to-face registration cycle. You heard earlier too about the radiologic and imaging sciences degree. I won't belabor that, but the extra talking points here is, again, in the concept of being the test kitchen of the university and innovation, it's a unique 1-year fast track degree that students, if they stay on the merry-go-round, can complete in 1 year. And that means they can get out and work much more quickly. As many of you know, working part-time, it can take about more than 3 years to complete a master's degree if someone is a working professional working part-time. So I think this is a unique model. And if it's successful, perhaps we can look at other degrees that might fit that as well. And then I want to thank all of our staff. If you're on the line as well, they pivoted well in being able to work remotely, providing good customer service to our continuing and new students. We continue to provide professional development opportunities and the tools they need to continue to do a good job. I would also like to add that CEIE contracted with a local Robert Half agency to hire or contract with instructional designers. Reza Barone is leading that effort for us. There are 5 of them, and they're working with some of your college as faculty right now to help for those that may need help to move classes online. They're helping in that regard, and we're seeing good success there. So all in all, again, we're keeping the foot on the gas. We're turning this, we're creating opportunity out of the crisis. So thank you.
Thank you, Dean McNutt. Last but not least is our colleague, Claudia Payton, who's the interim dean of the College of Health, Human Services, and Nursing. And similar to the College of Education, this college had a lot on its plate in terms of trying to do clinical placements. And as you can all expect, they are also providing graduates and students that are at the front lines of working in healthcare and trying to address health disparities. And Claudia, I thank you for your leadership, and please take it away with the next slide in terms of some of your accomplishments last year and some of the upcoming goals.
Well, thank you, Provost Spagna. I want to first highlight the occupational therapy program because this has been several years in the making. We have been approved at the legislative level to offer the entry-level professional doctorate in occupational therapy. We'll be moving forward with that program. It has a long journey yet, but that's very big news for us. As Provost Spagna mentioned, many of our programs produce alumni that populate hospitals and other community agencies in providing health care. Our orthotics and prosthetics program produces 56% of all practitioners in orthotics and prosthetics in the state. I want to highlight the clinical lab science program, in that we received this year $35,000 worth of support for students that are going out to placements. Our kinesiology department offers the largest physical education subject matter program in the CSU. Next slide, please. Our School of Nursing obtained a national certification for the clinical nurse specialist in neonatal nursing, which is a vital need in our local communities. The Department of Health Science, as Dean McNutt mentioned, is going to be offering the first Master of Science in Radiologic and Imaging Science, which is very exciting and I think a big need out there. As well, the Division of Health Science will be moving forward in establishing a new Masters of Public Health program. And our Human Service program offers 130 hours roughly of service to the community, which equates to about 1.6 million in community service. And our graduates go on then into graduate school at about a rate of 30%. Our goal, next slide, please. Our goals for this upcoming year are to develop a strategic plan for the college, to develop faculty research fellow program that will encourage our faculty to participate in seeking extramural funding. We'll be collaborating with CSU San Diego and San Jose State to seek legislative approval for offering the Doctor of Public Health in the CSU and hopefully at CSUDH, although we're not entirely sure about that yet. And then the other goals we have are related to external accreditation. So you may know that most of our programs are externally accredited professional programs, and those external accreditations take a great deal of time and additional energy from the faculty and staff. So we'll be moving toward initial accreditation of the Doctor of Occupational Therapy, as well as initial accreditation of the Master of Science in Marital and Family Therapy, and then the reaccreditation and reaffirmation of the Master of Science programs in occupational therapy, orthotics, and prosthetics, and social work. So we have a very busy year ahead of us. And I want to especially thank the faculty and the staff of the college for the great work they've done getting our students through the spring semester, finishing up those clinicals and doing all they had to do to make that a possibility was an extraordinary effort. Many of our programs graduated students on time despite all of the challenges that were associated with completion of clinical affiliations. So I feel very proud to be affiliated with this college and the great faculty and staff that I work with. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Payton. So I want to, Kara, if we could, let's move into the next slide. And before I turn it over to Ken to bring us home, I want to open the Q&A for some broader questions that might have arisen during the conversation today, during the webinar. And remember, again, we have a larger budget town hall tomorrow. It's one in a series that we'll have going forward. So larger or specific budget issues we will be addressing in the webinar tomorrow as a campus, but I'll look also for some other questions you might have as we went through the Faculty Affairs webinar. I'm going to turn it over now to your Vice Provost, Ken O'Donnell. Ken O'Donnell has kept me sane during the last 5 months. He also works tirelessly with everything from the academic resource managers to the course schedulers, trying to make the heavy lift of all the online classes and virtual classes. How are students going to navigate this? How are faculty going to navigate it? He also was one of the key members of the writing team that put together the exceptions list that we vetted through the Chancellor's office. So our Vice Provost and somebody that our university is so thankful to have, let me turn it over to Ken O'Donnell.
Great, thanks a lot, Mike. And I'm glad to hear that I've been helping keep you sane, and any lingering insanity on the part of the Provost, I will take no blame or responsibility for. I wanted to just share a couple of observations. As you heard Mike saying, we've had a few reasons to celebrate here. You can see on screen the enrollment trends that are continuing to go up, even at a time when other colleges and universities around the country, including many in the CSU, are seeing shrinking enrollment. Maybe partly as a result of the pandemic, but also there are continuing pressures on higher ed generally, concerns about cost, concerns about equity. Dominguez Hills in particular has always faced those head on and tackled them, and I think it's paying off. Can you go to the next slide, please? The enrollment profile continues to be something we're especially proud of here. We've got the most diverse campus in the CSU system. We've got a rising mean unit load that I want to dwell on for just 1 second. That mean unit load is the average number of courses students take, more or less. For a student to graduate in 4 years, they've got to do that. Pretty much they've got to hit 15 in a semester, 30 in a year. If you take advantage of the programs in the College of Extended and International Education, you don't have to do 15 units in a semester. You can do 12, and you can make up some in intersession, you can make up some in the summer. But if you can get through 30 a year, you graduate in 4 years. Our mean unit load is the highest it's ever been. So we have more students coming back than ever before. And when they come back, they take more classes than ever before, despite moving nearly all of our operations online. It's extraordinary. This is increasingly the place where people want to be. You heard Dr. Koos saying earlier, 31 out of 31 successful faculty recruitments. That's extraordinary. And at the same time, all of this is happening essentially off campus at a time when we're streamlining our bureaucratic processes. You heard Dr. Grandonnet talk about our rising graduation rates in the context of an easier bureaucracy to navigate. You heard Dr. Costino talk about a nimbler process for approving curriculum and mounting new degree programs in response to changes in the disciplines. All of this, again, happening off campus. And then you heard the president talk about what's happening on campus, the new buildings, the new infrastructure, the new residence hall. You're going to see a revised North Lawn, too, when you get back. That means that you and I are about to witness an extraordinary convergence between all of these improvements in process, in learning, in instruction, and a really transformed campus when all of these different elements come back together. We have some decisions to make about how that's going to go. We have an Emergency Operations Committee, the EOC, that has different Toro teams underneath it. One of those Toro teams is just about the learning and the instruction. We're hosting a symposium this afternoon. I invite you all to attend. It's called Getting on Board with Online Equity and Excellence. A lot of the transitions we have to navigate in the year ahead are going to be important, fundamental decisions that affect the culture of Dominguez Hills going forward, and we want you in on that. You can register for that symposium right now by going to csudh.edu/together. You'll see all of the emergency response materials there. If you put in another slash and say faculty, you'll get to the page with the registration link on it. It starts this afternoon. It's for a couple of hours. I have to particularly thank Dean Mitch Avila for the help in putting together that program. It should be extraordinary, and I hope to see you there. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Provost Spagna.
Thank you, Ken. So if we could move ahead, Fidel, our final remarks, and go to the next slide. So I want to end by thanking our entire Office of Academic Affairs, and you see all of those heroes within that group there, who day to day have been pitching in all summer. They set up everything from curriculum to processing travel claims to making sure stuff is on the web. So I'm indebted to all of our colleagues that you see there on that slide. And I particularly want to single out Adrian Mack and Leslie Baron, and also Xavier for putting together this webinar today and being so diligent in terms of faculty awards, setting up events and so forth. So my heart goes out to them and thank you for the work you've done. And if we could move on to the next slide, I want to share with you that I've been monitoring our Q&A box. We don't have any open questions. You've all been inundated with a lot of information. We also put the different emails of various college deans on there. But I wanted to say two things as we close this out today. One is that the people that we didn't highlight today are the associate deans, the department chairs, the program coordinators, the academic resource managers. These people are the unsung heroes of this campus. They are the ones that all summer long going to this academic year were planning, supporting, navigating in a very surreal, unusual environment. And it will continue to be challenging during this year, but I want to thank each and every one of you for the work you've been doing and continue to do on behalf of our students and our university. And I want to end with this thought. It was the thought that I came into the campus over 3 years ago with, and it's more important now than it ever was before. And Dean McNutt, thank you. You just reminded me of this phrase I used when I got here back in summer of 17. And I want you to embrace it, which is progress moves at the speed of trust. We're on a great trajectory. We are going to serve our students, but at the end of the day, we're going to have some grace and some shared trust and some collective impact. With these things are things we're all in this together. Open communication, navigation as we go forward are going to be so important. So I want to thank you for the pivotal roles you make every day, you play every day. And I particularly want to thank all the leaders that appeared on this webinar today, because without them, we would not be the institution we are today and we aspire to be tomorrow. So thank you all. And as the good teacher in me, I see that we finished with 30 seconds to spare. So thank you all and have a good rest of your day and go Toros.